Welcome to Let's Talk Possibility, episode 30 on 30th of April 2012. We are talking tonight to Lesley Williams about how entrepreneurs can use collaboration to improve society. Thanks for listening. What's possible when we explore ideas, challenge thinking, and inspire action? That's what the show's about, the Let's Talk Possibility show. And I'm Talana Simpson, and with me is my host, Wangizi.
Hello.
And tonight we have a very special guest, Lesley Williams. Welcome.
Hello. Hey.
So awesome having you here, because we're talking about, I think, an interesting topic that I learned about it, I know a bit in some of the coaching work that we do about collaboration. Is the word, and it's actually quite a high-level skill, according to Dr. Michael Hall, the way he sees it, because it takes a lot of dynamics and thinking and processes to make it work. Yeah. So we want to explore that tonight. We're going to collaborate around collaboration.
Yes. So with us this evening, just a little bit about Lesley. So Lesley is the co-founder of the Hub Johannesburg, which is a co-working space for social innovators and entrepreneurs. In 2011, she was selected as one of Mail and Guardian's top 200 young people you should take out for coffee, as we are this evening.
Okay.
So Lesley, just a bit about collaboration. What is collaboration to you? How do you define it?
Mm-hmm. I totally appreciate what Talana had to say, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate what it is.
Okay.
For me, collaboration is be it a group of people or even two individuals who come together with a common intention. And you may not exactly know what the end result is, but there is some kind of broader intention that's almost your compass or your guide that takes you to a certain place. So be it around transforming the city or working on a specific project, or just coming together in an experimental mode and appreciating each other's skills. I think for me, those are some of the founding stones to making something happen together.
Okay. I mean, I'm reading, like lately I've been reading quite a lot around the concept and idea of collaboration. And what seems to come out for me is that the nature of work is it's changing, it's transforming. Mm-hmm. All the problems that we're trying to solve now are different from problems we were solving 100, 200 years ago. So is collaboration growing because of the changing nature of work, or is it the problems that we're solving are just different and they need, collective thinking, if you will?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. So a lot of work I do is with various business schools, and I've been in a few meetings with HR directors recently. And some of them who are heading up blue chip companies, people are starting to say that younger people want a more holistic way of living. Mm. We don't want to wait until we're 50 and have money to either give back to society or to just have the kind of lifestyle that allows you to do more.
Yes.
That brings in family, that brings in appreciation for the environment, that allows you to do sport. So people are at a younger age looking for careers that brings more meaning to life. And what better way than to work in spaces that allows you to be you? So people are starting to gravitate to each other and to other people who have a similar kind of outlook to life, and starting to form businesses around that.
But what I'm finding, a lot of what I'm finding now is that in many instances when I work with groups or in groups that I find myself, there tends to be very sort of strong-headed people, if I can call them that. Strong minds that want to contribute their bit in as much as possible. I mean, you mentioned that there should be the campus or the objective as your guide toward, reaching whatever it is that you're working toward. So how do you strike a balance between everyone being heard in a group and still reaching those objectives that you've come together to work toward?
Yeah, I've kind of put down my about 4 ingredients of that I think are the foundations of collaboration. I think for one, it is about having an attitude of abundance.
Okay.
So I think you can't go into that kind of space with me, because chances are you're going to be frustrated and leave and drop out. And that's okay. If that's not your setting, it's okay. But in a collaborative setting, it is about abundance. It's not the me and them. And it's always looking for the possibility in that. And I think what a lot of people find tough is when coming into a new group of people or meeting any new people, it's to some extent we need to suspend judgment.
Yes.
You know, we're all coming in with our own baggage, with our own reference points, with our own spaces that we were born into, or circumstances. So it's about almost really, and it's a challenge, silencing yourself a little and being a bit more open to say, hey, what else is being heard? So I'm not saying let go of your view or your perspective, but it's just taking a step back and, hey, what's that person about? And then starting to form an opinion afterwards. So it's delaying it and delaying your personal instant gratification a bit longer.
Yeah, because isn't it the point of collaborating, to bring in a whole lot of different minds together, is that each mind has a uniqueness that they can contribute to whatever you're working towards.
Yeah.
So you don't want to lose that each person is, like you say, some people are strong in different things. You don't want to lose that, because that's the whole point of getting
together,
a group of people together, is because you're strong in that and you're strong in that and I'm strong in this.
Yeah.
So it's almost like knowing what our strengths are, but not making it personal. It's not about us. So it's the ego out the way, and it's what is everyone else saying from their different perspectives and from their strengths.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes it sounds quite fluffy, but it is a bit of a dance. You know, it's about being clear about who you are and what you need.
Yes.
And, you know, so we're not saying, oh, totally be open and totally let go, but you need to have some kind of formal understanding about what are your core values that you want to work with. What is your core intention? And having that be your anchor. And then allow the other flavors and diversity to enter and shape it. So, you know, going in with clear intention, but not being that rigid that you're not allowing yourself to be influenced.
Okay, so you said you had 4 points. One was around the attitude of abundance.
So,
was that?
Yeah. So it's about having an attitude of abundance. Like I say, seeking the common intention. Because I think, you know, if we start working with purpose, then it's about the purpose. Like I said, it's not about me and you and an ego and getting personal, but hey, we're working towards this common objective and common intention. It's about having a spirit of invitation. And what that means to me is that even though you may be very clear about where you are heading, allowing other people to influence at different points. Quite often we decide like, okay, so these are the 4 people on my team, this is it. You know, we shut everybody else out. And not everybody may necessarily want to join you in the long run, but people can contribute to your intention at different points of your journey.
Yes.
So just take what works for you and, you know, keep going. The next one is about having almost a community approach. And I was saying to you earlier on that, you know, community is community. Whether you package it as participatory leadership development or strategic development, to whatever way we could package it, it's about the basics, about coming together as a group of people. And not always, you don't have to reach consensus to be in community, but having that deeper skill and intention to listen with that deeper ear, listen with a sense of opportunity.
And to work together as humans.
Yes.
It's like, how can we work together here, as you said, to that common purpose?
Yeah. So if you almost picture in the old days, or in fact it's still done, a bunch of people sitting around a fire or, you know, community meeting under a tree.
Yes.
It's almost that the purpose or the intention is the fire that you're all sitting around.
So we bring that to the boardroom then, because in the boardroom now we sit around a boardroom.
Yeah.
A boardroom table, sorry. Not a boardroom. We sit around a table. So the purpose then is whatever's on the table, I suppose, the topic of discussion.
And I've been in quite a bunch of corporate meetings because that's what pays my bills at the end of the quite often. And you know, I'm an emerging social entrepreneur myself. So with a lot of us, we use our one field of work to subsidize the other. And a lot of my work is around corporate. And there is the same almost kind of magic happens even in corporate when we start putting titles aside. And the hierarchy of, you know, or the fear that I'm sitting next to the chief financial officer or the human resource director, and if we all come together and look at what's the common intention that the company needs to work with, then we could start letting go of that fear. And I think senior and innovative and strategic thinking heads of companies are open to that. And, you know, this is where I challenge younger people. You know, we always fear titles.
Yeah.
And I'm quite fortunate that in my early career, I was one of the first people, or one of the youngest people working at Gibbs at the business school, and we stripped titles at the point. Most people name us Professor Nick Bernadel. To us it was Nick, and so it's about, I think, maintaining your authenticity no matter who you're speaking to. And I think, like, in my personal life, people have met me there. No matter who I've been speaking to, some high-level people at government, and I've been fortunate to work with a few, through to, I don't know, some like a 21-year-old and, younger people. But it's about having that same level of authenticity no matter who you're speaking to. And even within the corporate space, people will meet you there.
So now, I mean, one of the things that also becomes sort of an issue when you're working with a group of people is facilitating or leading a conversation to an objective. So who takes the leadership? Who takes leadership or a leadership role?
Or is there leadership, or is it facilitation, or is it? You know what I'm trying to ask? It's like,
I think the role of the new leader of today's age, and you get positional leadership, and you get kind of natural leader, and I think in both cases, and it's about being a facilitator, and like I said, it's not about letting go of your perspective, but almost like maintaining or enabling the environment for other perspectives and voices to be heard, and what often upsets me is when I come into a company, you can often tell the culture of the company by how the receptionist feels about their work. They frontline staff. They know how the customers, what the customers are thinking and feeling, and so it's quite natural to think that I would think that they should have quite an influential voice in terms of strategy of companies, because they know what's happening at the pulse of the organization. But we don't think about that, so we have these highly depressed people who may show up at work late or take sick leave. And for me, it's almost about creating a path of significance for those people as well. Because if they fully understand the opportunity of their voices being heard in the company, there's something to latch onto. Like, I would want to be part of a company like that. And we see it at the Hub as well. We often have young interns coming in and doing small kinds of stuff for us, but they often come in with a sense of fear, like, oh my goodness, working with Lesley, or I'm working with someone from overseas, because we also have loads of internationals. But once they start understanding how they fit into the value chain, because they, again, at the pulse of what our members are thinking and feeling. So we're continuously integrating them into how we strategize.
So then part of leading through a collaborative style is to get as many people as involved in different things. I think one of the points you said was about leaving the title aside and meeting everyone authentically where they are and what information from their perspective can they bring. So you mentioned the Hub quite a few times. I know you were the director of it, and you started the Hub here in Johannesburg. And how did that come about? Because I think you said the culture of it is very collaborative.
Yeah. I think I'll give a little bit of the backstory of the Hub, because I think that inspired me most to get involved. In about 2001, 2002, a bunch of young English students were invited by the UN to contribute to the World Summit for Sustainable Development that took place in Johannesburg in 2002. They got here, and we're doing what we often do in South Africa when we have internationals coming over. We hide the poor. We send them off District 9 style, for those of you who've seen the movie. Which is quite unfortunate. So in chatting to a lot of locals, they discovered that most people don't know about the summit, which is making international headlines. And it was very Sandton-oriented, very upmarket. And then they felt that was not the right place or space they wanted to host the event. So through networks of ours, they got involved with a community project in Chayelo, in Soweto. And they worked with the community for about 10 months, transforming a space to what has now become known as the Soweto Mountain of Hope. So that space initially was a no-go zone. There was trash over there. There were stories about rape, and it was just like avoid.
Horror stories.
Yeah, horror stories. And in that 10 months, it it was transformed into a beautiful, huge food garden, and the tower became a public artwork piece. But what was most important, so in terms of the summit, it was huge. It became known as the Alternative Summit. Kofi Annan was there, Bill Clinton, and it was very dramatic. Kofi Annan had to put his formal notes aside, and he really spoke from his heart. You shed a tear, and he spoke from his heart. But what is most important is that this whole group of young English students discovered that collaboration happens through community. So even when Katie, the architect, when the women decided that they want a restaurant, Katie didn't hand over the plans and say, here, I'm the expert architect, here's the plans. She actually sat with the community, and the women designed their own restaurant. So they then went back to London, and the first hub came to life in 2005 in Islington in London. And we still use the same process within the hub ever since. There's almost 30 hubs in major cities around the world. And we still have that community-driven approach where, as the founder, I do not come over and say, hey, here's my vision for the community.
Yeah,
but it's having...
This is our wrap. Here's how it goes here.
Yeah, yeah. I lost track of your question.
My question was asking, how did it come about? So you're telling us.
Yeah, so that was the first hub. I moved to London in 2006, and eventually, I became a hub member. Eventually, I was really intrigued by what they were doing, and I started seeing hubs pop up all over the world while I was a hub host over there. And I'll explain what a host is in the moment. But several people said, hey, this approach of working, like we've learned it in South Africa. Like, Lesley, we need a hub in South Africa. And it was quite tough. Someone tried setting up the hub in Johannesburg a few years ago, but we didn't have best practice. So when I moved back home in 2008, I spent the next few years really just trying to understand what is happening in South Africa. And I spent almost 2 years having coffee dates, finding out what do people need that want to create change in South Africa, and what are they working on? So that was part of the ingredients of what's become Hub Johannesburg now.
Is what the answers that you found?
Yes, the answers. Yes. So, like awesome. I say,
it's now a place where social entrepreneurs get together and they can meet and learn and collaborate on projects. Is that a
yes?
How
so
you would sum it up?
For me, I'd say we have community at the heart of it. So it is a space where you, as an individual entrepreneur or change maker, can come, and you're part of a community of like-minded people. And when you say like-minded, everybody's working on their own project. We have accountants in the space, we have a public relations person, an artist, someone working on a food project. So there's this diversity of people. But they pull together by one common intention, that they would like to see a different kind of society, a more just society.
So just because I think that the question we've got from someone listening in now, he says, could the hub be considered a cooperative? So where he calls it on-purpose individuals, each with a vested interest. And that's from Steve. And that sounds like what it is that all the people are on their own missions, doing their own things, but what brings them together is a greater vision.
Yeah. So to a large extent, it is a cooperative at the heart of it. I mean, we're a for-profit company in Johannesburg, and we especially decided to register it as a for-profit company because we wanted to prove that you can do good and do well. So that is our intention. But in being a social business, we're reinvesting most of the profit. We're not at that stage yet, but the intention is to reinvest our profit into the mission of the organization.
So to me, it sounds a little like, Tilana and I are also involved in, like an NGO as well. And we've seen quite a lot of how NGOs and NPOs work, the perception that's created around them, where people want to solve a social issue like education, or where they want to make a difference for the poor or something like that. So in those instances, there is the perception that NGOs always ask for money, always ask for sponsorship from government, from corporates, whereas in sort of the social entrepreneurship space, it is more about making a profit. Is that, how do you make that shift from NGO, NPO, give me money, to resolving sort of a social issue, but making profit at the same time, and it not being perceived in a negative light?
For me, to a large extent, it starts with the internal attitude. So perhaps I'll hold back on names, but I worked for one of the biggest children's charities in the UK when I lived over there. I also did some consulting to some world-renowned NGOs, and what I saw internally scared me. And that's when I was split off NGOs. I'm not saying all NGOs are like this, but I didn't like what I experienced. I was in a space where I would receive people's entire estate, or their will. I wouldn't receive their estate. I'd read their will, and people would leave their entire estate to the charities I worked for. But I saw so many inefficiencies within the organization. And I felt like it was the mentality of, we'll just ask again, or there will be this constant inflow of cash. So it's not appropriate for everybody doing social good to be registered as a not-for-profit. But you can build in efficiencies into the way you work.
So going back into the hub, so you guys have, and it sounds like it's their culture. It started off, with you sitting on the floor with pizzas and beers and drawing out how you're going to build the hub Johannesburg. So that culture has come from literally as it was created, yep. And it's still very much part of, with all these different people doing different things. Have you got any nice stories of collaboration where it has worked?
Yeah,
because obviously we were trying to understand how to collaborate more.
Yeah.
So. If I just look at I need to think for a second about the clear examples within our hub. But our members, what we are seeing now is our members are starting to unlock opportunities for each other. So, firstly, my role is a host. We have we're a team of 3 now. That's part of the official team. And a huge part of our role is what we call hosting. So the role of a host is not to be the receptionist or just answer the door, but it's to have deep insight to what the needs are of our members within the space. And when we have that, or when we know that, we could do 2 things. So first is that we could create critical connections for their businesses. That's one, but we could also design our service offering based on their needs. So one of the things we have, for example, is our Hub Business Clinic, where we provide technical skills training on how to run your business. So often, as a one-man show, I may not understand what a branding strategy means to me. But through our business clinic, we could simplify huge jargon into very practical, usable things for our members. But we design our programs based on our community needs. So where the hub itself has actively got involved, for example, is around the Millennium Development Goals. There's a hub member running a campaign called Shake the World. And I'm not wearing any bracelets now. But they create, they have about 8 bracelets representing the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. So by wearing it, you create awareness of it, but you also create employment for women in rural KZN. That Africa Ignite is an NGO operating over there. So what the hub has done is we've connected them. Also, a lot of things happen by chance at the hub. So we curate the space, but things happen by chance all the time. So Edgar's was launching their winter range at the hub last year, bringing in high-end fashionistas from all over the country. The CEO was there. We connected the CEO to the project. We just made an introduction, simple introduction. And they fell in love with each other. Those bracelets are sold now in 40 stores, Edgar stores nationwide. More partners have come on board. But that's something that almost the entire hub members are supporting. And it's becoming an internal movement and hopefully, external as well, where people are going out and everybody's aware now about the MDGs. And we keep asking each other, how are you shaking the world today? So that's on a small scale. And we're also seeing it happen now with a few of our, like I said, the hub is in 30 cities around the world. And an event we have coming up on the 16th the 16th of May is with Hub Amsterdam. It's running at the same time, Hub Amsterdam and Hub Johannesburg. And the whole focus is on base of the pyramid. So one of our participants from a previous event has started a project called School in a Box. And they're trying to understand, like, how do you make education available and very simple at grassroots level, in really rural level, but doing it in a sustainable business model. So we're partnering up with Hub Amsterdam members, and we're all going to work together on the 16th of May and brainstorm, and they want to actively get involved, be it around seeking venture capital over there, looking at the systems and processes they use over there. So it's really that global, local thinking coming together.
Sounds very exciting. So we just got another question from Sir Steve. He's asking if all the global hubs are based on the same concept, or is it really just Josie that's uniquely focusing on sustainable development? But it sounds like, I mean, obviously you collaborate between hubs.
Yeah, so every hub has its own local vision. There are a few things that you'll find at every hub. Firstly, it is the actual physical space. It is about the community, and it is member-based. So beyond that, we're all innovating all the time. So we are for-profit because we wanted to prove that social entrepreneurship can work. A hub in Brussels, they are cooperative. Also, the perception of cooperatives are slightly different over there. Hub Zurich, where we'll consider a rich company, they a not-for-profit. So it's all the legal entities based on the local vision, but we all borrow it from each other. So for example, Hub Zurich. But it's
the highest vision. They're all about sustainability.
Yeah,
it's almost. It sounds like that's what people today, as we started off the discussion, are looking for ways to live a more sustainable life and more ecological, would be my word. Like, you want time for sport, you want time for the family, and you want to contribute, not when you're 50, 60, you want to do that now.
Yeah. So all the hubs are based on that ethos.
Okay.
And for me, the what excites us about the network going global is that when there is something happening in a specific community, be it a disaster, natural disaster, or even something positive, we could all collaborate. We all trust each other. It's a trust-based community. And we also have our online systems that support collaboration member to member across countries. And we could rally around and get together and focus on one key thing. Let me give you one example of something I find quite exciting. One of the hub hosts in Islington, when I was working there, Joanna, Jo, really, she's a fashion designer, and she's always had this passion for Africa, and through her company, Ethical Fashion Forum, they got some funding from the UN to look at the quality of design in African clothing and exporting it to high-end stores within Europe. Jo eventually decided to give up her life over there, moved to Mombasa, and she started an ethical fashion factory. So, it's increased the quality of life with local people. They have above average wages and putting out high quality designs. And through the hub networks, we could help distribute their clothing. Yeah.
It's a lovely story. So I'm hearing so much. So collaboration for me, what I'm hearing from you guys is one, the common purpose. There needs to be something common that everyone is drawn together, but everyone brings their own unique angles, as you say, your strengths to the table,
to the whole, and try to, and in that, don't necessarily let it be for the benefit of the group and the benefit of the objective or the goal that you're working toward.
So it's just a part of it is for understanding is almost like if you're going to go in and collaborate, is you have to go in with understanding and being open and trust, as I say, willing to trust and willing to share.
Yeah.
For that common purpose.
Yeah, and for me, the powerful thing that also comes out of that is, for me, that's also where innovation starts happening. It's when these unexpected people start having conversations about each other and using things in new ways, using technology in new ways, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, because we get so focused on what we're doing, someone else from outside of what we're doing could share something that lets us do something differently.
Yeah.
All very exciting. So I'm keen to go and collaborate some more now than anyone else. But so we need to wrap up now. What's just one way that some people can get hold of you if anyone wants to get in touch?
Sure. So the simple way is www.hubjoburg.net.
Cool. So from their website, they'll get all your details. You can learn more about Lesley on our actual blog as well. But yeah, let's keep talking about collaboration and even maybe collaborating more with our show as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, share the love, you know.
Share the love. Talk to us on Facebook.
Talk to us on Facebook, on facebook.com/Let's Talk Possibility.
And cool. So,
Thanks for having me over, guys.
Wow, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. You shared some very insightful things about collaboration, stuff we, had no idea was possible when it comes to collaboration. So, yeah, thank you for coming through.